is Brian Oglesby with the Better Business Bureau serving West Florida. And this is your local Better Business Bureau. And let me just clarify that we're recording. I'm getting an error, so let me just make sure it's set up properly. And before we have Victoria join us today, I just wanted to give you a quick summary about the Better Business Bureau and the resources available to you as small businesses and small business owners. Better Business Bureau is an organization that is here to help your business, and we have provided many resources for you as a business owner as well as a consumer. All of those resources can be found very simply at bbb.org. Now I am receiving a message just now that you do not hear anything. Can everyone hear me? If you can give me a thumbs up and a wave and let me know that you can hear me okay. Okay, it looks like I am getting yeses that you can hear me. Great. So the Better Business Bureau website is very simply bbb.org. This is where you can come to find all the resources that you need through the Better Business Bureau. The Better Business Bureau is providing and gathering resources from all the organizations, agencies out there to help give you that information at ease. So whenever you're in doubt, you're not sure where to go to obtain information, you can always go simply to bbb.org and find that information through our resources page. As you see on my screen, you see our website, bbb.org, and we have standing at the top of the website a direct link to our microsite that is a dedicated microsite to show you all the information relating to coronavirus. The first approach is our landing page to make you aware of all the scams happening out there, taking advantage of consumers, and our way to help protect consumers and you as businesses on how to avoid these scams. So these are the latest things and trends that we see happening in our marketplace. This is information provided from consumers and businesses through our BBB Scam Tracker. In the top of the page there in the blue, you'll see the COVID-19 business resource page. If you simply click on that, that will take you to our resource page to provide you with all the information for you as a business owner. And then as you scroll down, you will see BBB Small Business Resources, and these are just resources by location. These are all different resources where you can click around and research the BBB website to find the information that you're looking for. Always remember, BBB Scam Tracker is a tool to help report scams and help you as businesses or as a consumer report scams as they're happening. So far this year, we've had 29 scams reported to BBB, specifically related to COVID-19 scams. So we do want to stay on top of these scams and make sure that we combat these scams and help warn both consumers and businesses about these scams so people do not fall victim to them. Now, we do understand in this unprecedented time in our state, this leads to a lot of questions, and I do see a lot of questions coming in. We've received a lot of questions from our accredited businesses contacting our office and understand that the Better Business Bureau is up and operating. There are over 100 BBB offices throughout North America here to assist you as a business owner and answer your questions. So always remember to reach out to your local Better Business Bureau when you are on bbb.org. The simplest way to find your local Better Business Bureau is to click on that hamburger sign at the top right-hand corner and click on the My BBB, and that will take you to that Better Business Bureau's page with all of their local contact information. Most of the businesses on this line are probably located in the West Florida marketplace, so we are your Better Business Bureau. We're here to answer your questions, respond to your emails, and provide you the service that you need as small businesses. Now, joining us today is the District Director with the SBA South Florida District Office, Victoria Guerrero. More about Victoria Guerrero. She is a leadership and business expert with more than 20 years of experience leading, managing, and transforming both private sector corporations and public sector entities. Her transformational leadership, business management skills, and ability to change business cultures has allotted her the opportunity to positively impact businesses and communities. As a South Florida native and prior small business owner, Victoria has always had the entrepreneurial spirit. With clients ranging from construction to real estate to media, her passion has always been helping small businesses grow. As a district director for the U.S. Small Business Administration South Florida District Office, Victoria is responsible for leading one of the highest job creation districts in the nation. She oversees the delivery of agency programs such as financial assistance, management counseling, and business development throughout South Florida area, which encompasses the 24 counties in southeast and southwest of Orlando. Victoria holds a master's in business administration, bachelor's in communication arts, and holds multiple professional industry certification. In today's small business climate, the Better Business Bureau and the SBA are here to help you as small businesses. The webinar agenda for today will be Victoria giving a short 15-minute presentation. We know there's been a lot of recent changes with the SBA loans, so Victoria is here to answer and address those changes. And we know that you have lots of questions, so again, we encourage you to type in your questions throughout the webinar while they are fresh in your head. At the end of Victoria's presentation, I will read off each question, and Victoria will then address them following her presentation. There will also should be a recording of this webinar available afterwards, and if it goes through well, we will record that and share that with you. Before we get started with Victoria, I did want to take a brief poll. And I'm going to launch right now. And this poll is just to help us gauge who we have on the call and to help with answering of questions. Basically, we want to know, based on the group of people that are on this call, have you already applied for an SBA loan? Yes. If you have not submitted for a loan at all or submitted any application online, then you would choose no. If you can answer that poll, I am showing it as showing up on your screen. And we'll give that a few seconds for you to respond. Okay. So it looks like 75% have voted. We'll give it another 20 seconds. So far, the majority of you is saying yes. So majority of the people, over 85% on this call today, have already submitted an application to SBA. And it seems like we may have a lot of questions relating to your application. I see some of those coming in now, and those are standard questions we're receiving is, what is the status of your application? So what I'm going to do now is I am going to turn this over to Victoria. And Victoria, I'm going to change at the presenter and send it over to you. And Victoria, just let me know if you received that request and when you're ready to get started.
Hey, Brian, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Excellent. Let me share my screen.
And I see your screen, the blue SBA, the blue screen with SBA on it currently.
Thank you very much. I do hear an echo on my end. You don't hear it on your end?
I do hear it a little bit, very vaguely. Are you presenting through a laptop?
Yes, let me, okay.
Do you happen to have a headset you can plug into it? It may alleviate the echo.
Thank you. I think the echo went away, so we can get started. Excellent. Thank you so much, Brian, for the opportunity to come and present to your audience and to be here with you today. As many have known, you know, there was a message that was sent to me. One second, it's not showing up. That was sent to me, was it late? It was late at night, 2 nights ago. And basically, it was this information here. You know, the SBA has processed more than 14 years worth of loans in less than 14 days. Now, this is unprecedented. The Paycheck Protection Program is saving millions of jobs and helping small businesses make it through this challenging time. However, as many are aware, funding is limited. And because of this, SBA and the Treasury Department have urged Congress to appropriate additional funds for this program, at which point we will once again be able to process loans, applications, fund loan requests, and protect millions of more paychecks under the Paycheck Protection Program. Now, the EIDL program, which is our economic injury disaster loan, is also providing much needed relief to sustain businesses and their employees. Now, by law, the SBA will not be able to accept new applications under the disaster loan programs due to the lapse in appropriations at this time. Now, because of this, the application portal for the EIDL assistance program is now temporarily closed. However, applicants who have already submitted their applications will continue to be processed on a first-come, first-served basis. And on a district level, this is for the South Florida district, we have suspended the webinars, but we still have our virtual office hours to answer any questions that small business owners may have. And I'm also working on other webinars in the future to provide small business owners with additional training and counseling services. Of course, this is at no cost to our small business owners. Our office will always be here to assist you when we can. Now, just to go on to the next screen here, wanted to share some important information. A lot of folks are probably asking, you know, I applied a few weeks ago, I haven't heard back, but I have an application number. If you applied for the EIDL loan and you do have an application number, you haven't heard back, I would like for you to do two things. One, check your inbox, check the spam folder and check the junk mail folder. Some small business owners have told me that they found email communication from SBA in those folders. So make sure to check that. And also, if you would like to get an update on your status on your EIDL loan, you can call 1-800-659-2955, or you can email disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. Unfortunately, the district offices that are throughout the nation, we don't have access to the system because we, the district offices, do not manage these loans locally. So I'm unable to go into a system and tell folks where their status is. They would need to contact our disaster team. Again, by calling 1-800-659-2955 or disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. If you're looking for status on your Paycheck Protection Program loan, you would need to contact your lender to obtain that status, because the lenders are the ones that they're managing the actual program for that particular loan. Today we're going to go through a few of our programs. I'm still going to talk to you about the Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Program. And we also have a program called the SBA Debt Relief Program, which I'm going to go through quickly. You know, in case Congress does fund these programs again, I want you guys to be prepared and have all of your documents in order to be able to apply right away if you haven't already. I also want to note, if you want information on any of these programs, you can go to sba.gov/disaster. We do also have resource partners throughout the nation that can assist you at no cost. And with any questions you have about these programs, they can assist you filling out the application. They can also assist you in taking a look at your financial records and payroll paperwork and making sure you have everything together, so when you submit the application, it's a complete application. Also on the bottom down, on the very last one here, sba.gov/South Florida. This is my local website for our local office here. But again, anyone from the state is welcome to join any of our webinars or virtual office hours. You can also join our email distribution list on that page by going to the bottom right-hand side, and this way you'll be updated with new information and new programs as soon as we get it. So let's go ahead and speak about the next, our economic injury disaster loan program. Now, if you remember, for this particular program, funds may be used to pay fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable, any costs that are associated to the company. Business owners can be approved for up to $2 million. This is a traditional loan in the fact that you do have to pay this back. So the interest rate is 3.75 for small businesses, 2.75 for private nonprofits. The repayment term is up to 30 years. Now, if you are going to look for loans over $25,000, they do require collateral. Just a few examples of what collateral would be interest in the business or real estate. The good thing about this program is that you do get a loan advance of up to $10,000. The formula that is used to calculate this is $1,000 per employee. That particular loan advance does not have to be repaid back. The deadline is to apply is December 18, 2020. And of course, you know, when and if we get additional funding from Congress, the application portal will reopen. And if you haven't already applied, you can apply again by going to sba.gov/disaster. Now, to speak a little bit about eligible and non-eligible entities. So the eligible entities would be small businesses with less than 500 employees or less. Also, 1099 employees can apply. Sole proprietors can apply. Most private nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and agriculture cooperatives can apply. The non-eligible entities are agriculture enterprises and gambling organizations such as racetracks, casinos, also real estate developers. They would not be able to be eligible for this particular program. So what is a private nonprofit? This is an eligible private nonprofit is a non-governmental entity that currently has one of the two: an effective ruling letter from the U.S. Internal Revenue granting tax exemption under sections 501C, D, or E of the Internal Revenue Code of 1954. Or two, satisfactory evidence from the state that the non-revenue producing organization or entity is a nonprofit one organized or doing business under state law. So did you know you can absolutely have a previous SBA disaster that you're still making payments on and still qualify for the EIDL disaster loan, but the two loans cannot be consolidated because each loan is for a specific disaster. Business owners can apply for EIDL and for the Paycheck Protection Program. You can apply for both. There's no penalty. There's no cost to do this. And if for some reason, if you are declined for the EIDL loan, SBA will give you up to 6 months to provide new information and resubmit a written request for reconsideration. Again, how to apply for the EIDL, sba.gov/disaster. If you have any questions on the EIDL program, you can contact them by phone, 1-800-659-2955, or by email at disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. Again, if you wish to obtain assistance, and this is at no cost, you can contact our SBA resource partners. We have the SBDCs, which are the Small Business Development Centers, SCORE chapters, Women Business Centers, and the Veteran Business Outreach Centers. To locate these centers that are close to you, go to sba.gov/local-assistance. You type in your zip code and you'll be able to see which of these centers are closest to you. They all are providing services at no cost to our small business owners, not only now during times of disaster, but throughout the year. You can absolutely count on them and on the SBA to help you. So let's talk a little bit about the Paycheck Protection Program. This is a very popular program. These loans will be given for up to 2 months of your average payroll cost from last year, plus an additional 25% up to a $10 million cap. Now, these loans are forgivable if you utilize the funds in the following way. 75% of your funds need to be utilized to pay for 8 weeks of payroll. 25% of the funds need to be utilized to pay for either mortgage interest, rent, and or utilities. If you utilize it in this manner, your loan will be 100% forgiven. Now, something to keep in mind, headcounts and salaries must be retained. If any of these are reduced, the forgivable amount will also be reduced. I also want to note, if you do need to use the funding for something else that are not in these categories we just spoke of, so let's say you need to buy some inventory, you can absolutely do that. But the percentage of funds that you use to buy that inventory, you will have to pay it back at 1% interest over 2 years. Now, to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program, also known as the PPP, there's no collateral that needs to be given and no personal guarantee. The deadline for this is June 30th, and the funding is limited. Obviously, we have stopped receiving these applications. The applications that are in the pipeline are still being processed, and those that are approved will receive funding. But right now, the application submittal has been temporarily stopped until we see if Congress provides additional funding for this program. Now, how do you apply? You have to apply by going to your local SBA approved bank. So I urge you to first speak to the bank that you utilize, see if they're an SBA approved bank. We have over 5,000 banks in the nation and credit union that are also approved. But if for some reason they are not working for you, I often get the question, can I go to another bank? Of course you can. There's no cost, there's no penalty to do this. For a list of approved SBA banks, please go to sba.gov/paycheck protection/find, and you'll see a list of approved banks in there after you put in your zip code. So how much to apply and what do I have to submit? Again, remember that when you're filling out the application process, you need to calculate your monthly average payroll costs in 2019 and multiply that by 2.5. Employees are capped at $100,000. So if you have an employee that makes $120,000, you can only use the $100,000 figure for your calculation. And each loan has a maximum of $10 million. Now, if you're a small business or sole proprietor, what constitute payroll costs? Well, these are salary, wages, benefits, taxes, as well as commissions and tips. You can include all that. What would you need to submit when you go see your bank? You would need to submit your payroll reports and your income taxes. And each bank is a little bit different, so they might ask you for additional paperwork. Now, if you're an independent contractor or you're self-employed, payroll costs are wages, commission, income, or net earnings from your self-employment. What you would need to submit is your 1099 miscellaneous form and your income taxes. If you haven't done this year's, you can do the previous years. Now, some industries are seasonal industries, so lenders will use a 12-week period beginning either the February 15th of last year or March 1st of last year and ending June 30th of last year to calculate those payroll costs. Now, what's not included? Payments made to independent contractors are not included in your payroll costs. So if you're a small business owner and you have 10 independent contractors, 1099 employees, you cannot include what you pay them in your salary calculation, in your payroll calculation. Why? Because the 1099 employees are eligible to apply directly for this loan. So that's why you wouldn't be able to utilize their cost in your payroll calculations. Now, if you do have an S Corp or C Corp and you're an owner who is not on payroll, but you do get a quote unquote salary, you get distributions from the shareholders, those distributions that you get, you cannot include them in your calculation for this particular program. Just want to go through two scenarios that I often get asked. So if you're a small business owner, but you have no employees, meaning you do not have any W-2 employees, the following methodology should be used to calculate your maximum loan amount. So for the payroll calculation, you would find your 2019 IRS form, 1040 Schedule C, line 31, and look at the net profit amount. You would take that amount and divide it by 12. This will give you your monthly average payroll amount. Once you have that, you multiply it by 2.5, and whatever that outcome is your maximum loan amount that you can request on the application. Now, what are the documents that need to be submitted? Again, as mentioned, the 2019 tax filings, your 2019 Form 1040 Schedule C, 2019 1099 miscellaneous form if you are a 1099 employee, a contractor. And some banks may ask for 2019 bank statements or 2020 bank statements. If you were not in existence last year, but you started your company this year in January or February, you can use this bank statements from that time period. A second scenario that I receive often is, well, I do have employees, but I'm not certain how to calculate the maximum loan amount. Well, if you do have W-2 employees and you do have a payroll company, the easiest thing is to get the payroll report from the company. But if you don't have that, you would need to add your 2019 net profit amount and gross wages and tips that you paid to your employees, plus any pre-tax employee contributions for health insurance or any other fringe benefits that they receive. Also add 2019 employer health insurance, retirement contribution, and state and local taxes that are assessed in the employee compensation. And when I say other fringe benefits, remember, if they get leave time or if they get sick time, vacation time, you want to include all of that in your calculation. Once you have that, you want to calculate that number and again, divide it by 12. This is going to give you your monthly payroll amount. Then you use that and multiply that by 2.5. Whatever that amount is, that's what your maximum loan amount will be for the application. Now, the documents to submit will be your 2019 1040 Schedule C, Form 941, or any payroll records, state quarterly wage and employment insurance tax reporting forms from each quarter in 2019. And again, this is usually included in payroll records, or a payroll statement or similar documentation from pay period that covers February 15th, 2020 must be provided to establish that you were in operation on February 15th of this year. Now, again, just want to reiterate, how do you get this loan forgiven? Make sure to use 75% of your loan for payroll and employee benefits. 25% should be used to pay any mortgage interest payment or rent or any utilities. If you utilize it in this manner, 100% of the loan will be forgiven. Now, these are the other additional programs I wanted to share with you. SBA does have a debt relief program. So the SBA will pay the principal, interest, and fees of any current 7A, 504, or microloan that you have with the SBA for a period of 6 months. The SBA will also pay the principal, interest, and fees of any new 7A, 504, or microloans issued prior to September 27 of this year. So that will provide you some relief. We also have an express bridge loan. This allows small businesses who currently have a relationship with an SBA Express lender to access up to $25,000 with very little paperwork. If small businesses also apply for the EIDL loan, once the EIDL loan funds are provided to the small business, those funds can pay off this particular Express bridge loan. So that's just another alternative you have, and that's, again, only for folks who already have a relationship with an SBA Express lender. Again, the important contact information, if you didn't get it the first time, you can obtain it by getting program information, sba.gov, looking for resource partners, sba.gov/local assistance. If you have to contact the Disaster Customer Service Center, if you have questions on EIDL, you would call 1-800-659-2955 or Disaster Customer Service at sba.gov. If you want any information on our webinars or virtual office hours, go to sba.gov/South Florida. If you scroll all the way to the bottom right, you can add your email address on there, and we will keep you updated via email with any new information that we may have. We also have a Twitter at SBA_South Florida. Our YouTube, youtube.com/user/SBA. We're still working on putting videos on there. And you can always email us with any questions you have at southflorida_GO, district office, GO, at sba.gov. So thank you so much. This presentation was brought to you by our South Florida SBA team. I like to put faces behind the people who are here to take your calls, who are on webinars, who are answering your emails. This is my team here. Florida is split into 2 districts. We have the North Florida, which handles Orlando and the Panhandle. They're located in Jacksonville. We have the South Florida, which is my team. We handle all the 24 counties south of Kissimmee, Florida, down to the Florida Keys. I have an office in Miami, in Fort Pierce, and in Tampa. And these individuals that you see on the screen are the ones that are here to assist you, not only now during times of disaster, but again, throughout the year with any questions you may have for your small business. And that's it. Thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate the opportunity. And what I'd like to do, Brian, if possible, is I'd just like to keep this in contact information on the screen, unless you need to share your screen, so folks can always refer to it if they didn't get a chance to jot it down.
Absolutely, we can keep that screen up, and now we'll go into the question and answer section. I know that's going to be a big part of this webinar. A lot of people have questions and they want answers to those specific questions. And again, going back to that poll, it looks like a large percentage of people on this call, thank goodness, have already submitted their loan application. So it's in that process. And I think a lot of the questions we're going to have is just getting a hold of someone, knowing the status of it. So I'll go through these questions individually, and that way you can respond to them. The first question that we have that came in is, this person is inquiring, I guess, about the difference of what is a small or a large company. They're questioning, how does a large company with over 5,000 employees get approved for 20 million of the PPP small business aid money? I guess if you can clarify the difference between small and larger businesses, and if there's any differences on who gets approved or who can apply, and sort of touch on that a little bit.
Sure. Now, a small business, believe it or not, is a business that has 500 employees or less. So from what I've been told, the applications that have come in have been reviewed on a first come, first served basis. So, I'm not quite certain which business this person is speaking of, but as mentioned, a small business can actually be businesses up to 500 employees. So again, businesses from one employee, a 1099 or a self-employed person, or an LLC that only has one person on payroll can apply, all the way to a business that has 500 employees can apply.
Okay, and they're speaking of, it looks like a large chain, restaurant chain. So I guess it would be dependent on how their employees are identified with the business entity per se.
Correct. Remember, you might go into a restaurant, you might see 50 employees working, but maybe 40 of them are 1099 employees. So again, I don't know. It's really on a case-by-case basis. So I don't have the details on that, because I'm not the one who reviewed the loan. I don't even have access to view any loan application. So, what I do know is, in the last 14 days, we have received applications and loans that have typically take SBA 14 years to achieve. We've done it in 14 days. In the state of Florida, if I remember the status correctly, just $12 billion have been given to small businesses in the state of Florida. We're actually number 3 in the nation that has received funding, and we're only number 3rd in California and Texas are number 1 and 2, and they're a much larger state than we are. So if you take a look at the state of Florida and the $12 billion we did receive, I'm very happy with that. I think that, we were able to show that there is a need for it here. It shows that, my office and the North Florida office, we were able to provide the information in a timely basis to give people time to apply. So again, we are here to answer any questions you have, but I did want to share those stats to put things into perspective. I know there's a lot of chat going on about the number of dollars that were provided here, but that $12 billion amount that I mentioned was of Monday of last week. So those are not even updated amounts. But I did want to share that with you.
Okay. And a few questions coming in are relating to people who have already submitted their application, waiting for SBA to approve. Is there a standard process communication-wise that people receive the status of their application, or they just receive a front end, we've received it, and they just have to wait till they get a follow-up response? Some people seem like they're having trouble connecting and getting in touch with someone with SBA for clarification. Can you maybe touch on that, the process of approval and the communication behind the scenes with these applicants?
Sure. Well, I do know if you apply for the EIDL loan and you received an application number, that means your application was received and you are in the pipeline. They are reviewing those applications that are in the pipeline currently. Now, if you would like to get a status on where your application is or how much longer it's going to take, you can certainly contact the disaster contact number on the screen, which is 1-800-659-2955, or you can email disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. Now, I do have to say, I say this with a disclaimer, because when you call or when you email, there is going to be a lengthy wait to receive a response as well. Remember, every time we get, this is a nationwide disaster. It's the first time in our history. And our disaster team typically is deployed to a location where there's a disaster that encompasses 1 or 2 counties. That same disaster team is managing this for the entire nation. Now we are looking to every day hire new individuals to help us with the loan reviews and with getting back to customers' inquiries. But I say that because if you're expecting a response in a day or two, it probably will not happen. It may take about a week, and I just want to be honest with everyone on the call. Now, again, if you have your application number, rest assured that it is being processed. What I've heard is that as the disaster team will email you if they have any questions or they need additional information. I have heard from small business owners that they found emails from the SBA in their junk mail and in their spam mail. So, always make sure to check those files as well in your inbox. And you can also, the funding is going to be transferred automatically into the small business owner's account. So that's another way to keep an eye. So I would say keep an eye on your account, keep an eye on your inbox, but also your spam folder and your junk mail, because it seems like emails are getting trapped in there.
Great. Can you give some clarification about qualifications for nonprofits, both 501c3s and then the 501c6s? Are those both included, not included? I guess clarification on that.
501c3 is included, 501c6 and 501c7 are not included.
Okay. And then this person asks, is it possible that the banks still have undistributed funds they have received from the SBA, or is it all distributed for the PPP program?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are assuming that since the banks and SBA are no longer accepting application that the funding is gone. That's not the case necessarily. Remember, there's a big pipeline of applications that are in process of being reviewed. We needed to stop the acceptance of application at some point so we can focus on the ones that are already in the pipeline and make sure to get funds to those individuals. So again, just because banks or our SBA portal, if we're, just because we're no longer accepting applications at this moment, it's been temporarily suspended, doesn't mean that all the money is gone. It just means that now we're focusing on processing these loans to try to get the funding that we have left out to the small businesses. Now, once and if we get extra funding from Congress, the application portal will be open again, and the banks will be able to accept the applications for the PPP program once again.
And I think you had said to me the other day is even if you're a business owner who has not submitted an application yet, now is the time to get those documents together, be prepared. So if the application opens back up, you have all your ducks in a row to submit this quickly, efficiently, and be one of the front runners to submit it if it does open up again in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely. I really recommend that. That's why I'm still holding these types of webinars to give people insight on the type of documents that they will need and answer any questions. Another thing I wanted to mention, Brian, for the EIDL, I know a lot of people have been waiting, 1, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Just earlier this week, the first batch of funds were released to folks that applied for the EIDL loan. Now, this is just my personal opinion. The way I think of it, if the first funds were just released, these must have been the first people that applied when this program was initially started, which was about four weeks ago. So I say that to give everybody perspective. It's taken about 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks for the first batch of funds to be released. So if it's been 2 weeks and you haven't heard anything, I wouldn't get nervous because it seems like it's taking, about 4 weeks or so to go through the review process and for the funds to be dispersed. So again, that's just my own personal opinion, and I just wanted to share that with the audience to give some perspective.
Great. Some of these I think you've answered. I'm going to breeze through them and just read them so they're read, and I think we've given answers to them. This one, what about the economic injury disaster relief loans of, says $10, but I wonder if it means 10,000 for companies with greater than 10 employees. Is that also out of funds? Currently, all of your loan programs are put on hold because the funds have been used up, correct?
The funds have not been used up.
Okay.
You know, again, I think that's a misnomer. The applications have been put on hold, not the programs.
Okay.
We are currently reviewing our applications and deciding which ones qualify, then dispersing funds. So we're in that process. What we've stopped doing is accepting new applications.
Okay, so after you reassess the applications that are currently submitted, then there will be an update of where you stand once that information is received and provided.
Yes, from what I've been told from headquarters, applications are being reviewed on a first come, first served basis. And then whether you're approved or not, you will receive communication via email. Or if they have some questions because maybe the application wasn't completely filled out, you know, their primary mode of communication is they will try via phone call, and if not, they will email you.
Okay. Let's see. Some people are asking why they can't check the status of the loans online. Is there an online platform that they can check status, or do they have to call in?
Right, they would need to call in. Right now, you know, because of the amount of loans that we received, the old system, you would be able to track it online, but we've had to upgrade the system, and that tracking mechanism has not been inputted as of yet. So the only way to obtain a status is to either call the disaster number on your screen or email disastercustomerservice@sba.gov.
Okay. Some people are making comments about their cash flow is just about gone. If they're forced to not pay their employees or furlough or fire or let their employees go, will they still qualify for these programs if they become available again? I guess when they're struggling of keeping them on board before the funds are available,
No, I
maybe you can tap
understand.
on
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. As long as they make a good faith effort to rehire those employees. So you would need to send them, you know, written, you know, offer for them to come back, you know, once you have the funding available. And then the employee will need to decide whether they want to come back or not. One thing I do want to note that the employee cannot be on unemployment and on payroll. They would need to decide, you know, which one they are going to utilize and stick to that program. So if they are in unemployment and then, you know, 2 weeks from now you have the funding, you offer them their position back. Make sure it's a written offer and make sure you get their response in writing. As long as you provide that documentation to the bank, it shows that you made a good faith effort to rehire them.
Great. Let's see this one. So this person applied for an EIDL and a PPP. They received a small percentage of the requested amount direct deposited, but they have no idea what it was for and have not received an email or letter to let them know what they received. They're not sure what was rejected and how they can use any of it.
Okay, if it's a PPP loan, it sounds like they might not even know which loan it is, but I would first contact your lender, explain to them what you just mentioned. They can check their database to see if it was the PPP loan that was provided. If it was that, make sure to use it for the categories we mentioned, 75% for salary, 25% for expenses such as utilities, rent, or mortgage interest. If you use it for that, that loan will be forgivable. Now, if you want to check to see if it's coming from the EIDL loan, I would contact the number on your screen, 1-800-659-2955, or email disastercustomerservice@sba.gov.
Okay. And a couple of these looks like we've answered. If employees have been laid off due to lack of work and they started to collect unemployment, does that affect the application? I guess there can't be a double dipping involved in the process.
Right, so they would need to give a good faith effort in writing to the employee, and the employee needs to decide whether they're going to come back and, you know, be an employed person or if they're going to stay on unemployment.
Okay, and I think some people are confused the difference between a grant and a loan. This question says, is the loan forgiveness considered cancellation of debt? Will it be reported to credit agencies as a discharge of debt, which will negatively affect their credit scores? I guess if you can give clarity, a grant and forgiveness of that grant is not going to be negatively impacted on their credit score, correct?
Well,
Or how
to
does that
begin
work?
with, the federal government does not give grants. SBA does not give grants. So that's a term that we try to avoid. It's a loan. It's definitely a loan. But if the $10,000 from the EIDL, the up to $10,000, I should say, from the EIDL, it's a forgivable portion of the EIDL loan. So they will give you up to $10,000 right away, or quote as right away as they can. I know it's a very lengthy process, and then you might still get additional funding based on your financials as part of the traditional EIDL loan, the one that you would have to pay back at 3.75. At that point, when you get that additional funding, you can decide if to use it or if to give it back. And if you want to give it back, there's no penalty on that. But as far as those $10,000, the portion that is forgivable, I really don't know how the back end works, to be quite honest. I don't know if it's going to be noted as a discharged amount or or quote unquote grant. I really can't answer to that. I'm sorry.
Okay. Resources, there's someone here asking about a relationship with SBA here at USF up here in Tampa. They're located in Hillsborough County near Pinellas County. Can they contact that office here in Tampa?
Yes, they are our small business development center. I love all of our resource partners. They're absolutely wonderful. But yes, the one that they're speaking of is the one in our Tampa office, and they can absolutely connect with them. They can also assist them with any questions they may have about these programs, or if they need assistance with any financials. Our SBDC, Small Business Development, all of our partners are here throughout the year to help small businesses with any challenges they may have. So absolutely contact them.
And the SBDC office, those are people within that office that are very abreast and knowledgeable about what you offer. And if they're having trouble getting through to the SBA directly, they may be able to contact that local SBDC office to get some clarity, and they'll have some knowledge behind that. Okay.
Yes, they have the same information as we do. We work
Okay.
hand in hand with them.
What about if someone's been denied for a loan? Do they get notice of that? How's that communicated?
Yeah, I believe they should get notice. And if you've been denied and for the EIDL loan, you have up to 6 months to do a written written request for reconsideration and provide any additional paperwork that may be needed. But you should, I would imagine, you should definitely be getting some type of communication. Remember to check your inbox and your spam and your junk mail to see if there's some emails in there that might have gotten stuck.
Okay, so I have a couple questions here. I'm going to try and summarize all this. If someone has multiple businesses, maybe they're self-employed with a DBA sole proprietorship. They may also have a S-type corp, both small businesses, file Schedule C and have taxes. Maybe they're a veteran. I'm not sure what they're asking on that. There's multiple questions in a row, so I'm going to try and read them all. I think they're asking about, based on $1,000 per employee, I only have 3 people plus myself. How can I get the max available for a small business?
Well, based on the formula that was shared, if it's $1,000 per employee and you have 4 employees, you would get $4,000. And that's just the loan advance. Remember, that doesn't mean, in addition to that, you might be getting additional funding, but it will be the regular loan, EIDL loan, which would have to be paid back at 3.75. But the loan advance in that particular example would be $4,000 that you would not have to pay back.
Okay. So you can take out more money than what the loan advance is, but those extra monies is a loan that you would have to pay back as a small business. So there is more money available through that process if it becomes open again, or if you're in that hopper.
Right, exactly. And the way the EIDL loan works is that they'll look at your financial, and based on your financial, they will determine how much loan that they're going to give you. So you can't go in there and say, I need $20 million. You know, when you apply for it, they're going to look at all the documents that you provide, and then they'll say, okay, based on this, we believe that, you know, we can give you X number of dollars for this loan.
Maybe if you can talk a little bit, tap on the difference between obtaining the loans through SBA directly or going to your bank. I think some people are confused about going to the local bank. We've had some other requests and questions in the past where they've connected with their bank they do business with. They were no longer accepting loans, or you have to meet certain criteria and parameters. Maybe tap on that about the banks involved in that process.
Sure. So the only program that you would apply directly on our website is the EIDL loan. And that's because the money comes directly from Treasury. So the middleman, the bank, is removed in that particular loan. And that's the only one that you go to sba.gov/disaster to apply. The PPP loan, you do have to go to a bank, you know, lender, and it has to be an SBA approved lender. Now, they're absolutely correct. I've heard a lot of small businesses mentioning that their bank either, you know, banks right now have stopped receiving applications. But if they do open and start receiving applications, you know, some banks have been telling people you need to have a certain account type of loan with us, you need to have a credit card with us. You know, they've been putting other parameters on there. If you've been experiencing that, I just want you to know that you don't have to use that bank. You can go to sba.gov/paycheck protection/find. You put in your zip code, and it's going to give you a list of all the banks and credit unions in your area that you can go to. And, you know, there's no cost for that. There's no penalty if you go to a different bank. But you do have the choice of going to different banks for that, so they can manage your program.
And then, you know, something I've been noticing, and I don't know if you can clarify or if you have knowledge behind this, it does seem like there are independent things popping up through local communities. Chambers of Commerce seems to put things together where they're trying to offer localized small business grants in the communities. So businesses may want to reach out to their local municipalities, the local agencies in their communities, and see if there may be those grants. Look outside the box for things like that. I've been starting to see trends of those things popping up. I don't know if you've heard the same or know anything about that.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful, and it's great to think outside the box, because I agree. There are some other entities that, you know, have received funding that they can utilize to help smaller companies and organizations. So I would definitely reach out to your local municipalities, your local business chambers. They would know which entities are providing this, and then you can contact that entity.
Great. I think we've answered all the questions. Some of them seem repetitive. I believe we've answered them in past questions. A couple just recently popped up. It seems that case. I'll just read them just in case. They're still questioning, how does the $10,000 from the EIDL that you don't have to pay back correlate to the $10,000 grant from PPP? So I think there's still some confusion there with the EIDL, if it's a grant, if it's a loan, the forgiveness behind it.
Right. So again, PPP and the EIDL advance. So think of it of two buckets. The PPP is one program that it's going to give you 2.5% more of what your regular monthly payroll is. So if your regular monthly payroll is, let's say, you know, $1,000, it's going to give you $2,500, the PPP. So the PPP is the one that is, it can be 100% forgivable. As long as you use the money that you receive, use 75% of that to pay your payroll and 25% to pay rent, utilities, or mortgage interest. Then it's 100% forgivable. The up to $10,000 EIDL advance, that amount is also forgivable. And the way that it's calculated is $1,000 per employee. But again, EIDL is a different program. So think of it as two different programs, two different buckets.
Okay, so I think you, Claire, I heard the 10,000 EIDL advance is subtracted from the PPP amount you receive. Is that true?
If you use a $10,000 advance for payroll purposes, it will be subtracted from the payroll funding that you are receiving for PPP, because the government doesn't want folks to be double dipping. So you can only use one or the other for payroll. So you can use, you know, the PPP for 8 weeks of payroll, but if you're also using the $10,000 during that period, it will be deducted from the forgivable amount.
Mm-hmm. There's a comment here about PPP being out of money, but I think just to reiterate what you said before is applications are put on hold to reassess the current people who have applied. If you haven't applied yet, there may be an opportunity in the near future to apply. I guess if you just want to elaborate on that.
Sure. Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, the money is gone, it's gone, and I didn't get anything from the program. But I want folks to just realize what was stopped temporarily was the submittals of application. Just because we stopped accepting application doesn't mean that the money is completely gone. What we're doing now is focusing on the applications that have already been received. And right now they're all being reviewed. So as they get reviewed, it's on a first come, first served basis. And then funds will be distributed as they're getting approved until the funds run out. But right now we had to stop the acceptance of applications so we can focus on those that are already in the pipeline and get those processed and reviewed.
Now, if you have a person that has several employees, let's say 13 employees, it's a husband and wife team saying they get a guaranteed payment. How do the wife and the husband apply?
Okay, it sounds like maybe those 13 employees are 1099s.
I'm not sure. That's all it says in the question.
So I'll give both scenarios. If you have a small business with 13 employees, and if the business owners get a salary, include their salary in the calculations for the payroll. If you have a 13 employee small business, but those 13 employees are 1099s, and the owners still get a salary, whether they get it from net earnings, whether they get it as a traditional formal salary, or whether they get it themselves as 1099s, they can still apply. So in either of those scenarios, you can still apply for the PPP program. The only difference is you'll have to provide your bank or your lender with different documentation depending on what scenario you fall under.
Okay. It looks like they're a little repetitive. How do we balance employee changes, either changing positions, quitting, or rehiring, with keeping pay and employee numbers the same in regards to the PPP loan? Looks like they're asking.
Right. Again, I think as long as you show proof that you're doing all you can to keep your employees on staff, and you show written proof to the bank, that should be sufficient to be able to qualify for this program. But remember, if your employees do leave, if you started this year with 10 employees and right now you have 5 employees and you want to apply for the PPP, you can only apply for the 5 that you have currently, unless you're going to ask the other 5 to come back and they accept.
Okay. Looks like we're getting thank yous. I think people are ready to, we want to try and keep the webinar true to its hour that we committed to. We do want to thank you for joining us today, Victoria, and help answering everyone's questions. I'm hoping we did get it recorded. I did hit the record button. There was a little pop-up, and I believe I rectified it. So if it is recorded, we will share this and we will email and communicate it out to everyone in the webinar. You all will receive a brief survey at the end of the webinar when you log out, and that will just really try and help us set up future webinars. What kind of topics would you like us to cover? Again, when you go to that bbb.org website, the BBB system is compiling a list of webinars that have been done by many BBB offices throughout North America covering various topics. So when you go to that microsite, you can view these webinars that have already been played. So there are resources.
Brian, I've stopped sharing in case you want to share your website again.
Sure. Let me go back and share mine real quick. Show screen. Waiting to view. Do you see my screen, Victoria?
Let me see here, 1 second. Nope, not as of yet.
Okay, let me see why it's not doing that. Shh. Brian Oglesby there. Now I'm
I see
presenting.
it. Yes.
Okay. And
Perfect.
so, again, when you visit this website, this is a dedicated resource page developed by the Better Business Bureau system to cover many different topics, not just funding, but to help your business build trust in trying times. We compile resources available throughout all locations. Again, we're the Better Business Bureau serving all of North America. So we have 100 offices with local people, boots on the ground, connecting with their local SBA contacts, the SBDCs, all the agencies out there, and compiling all that information into one source for you as a small business. So if you have trouble connecting or finding the resource that you need, always reach out to your local Better Business Bureau, whether it be our office here in Clearwater serving West Florida. There's 5 Florida offices throughout Florida, again, 100 offices throughout North America. And as you see, we're compiling these resources. We're trying to be a one-stop resource to find what you need, and we're always here to help you with that process. Again, thank you everyone for joining the webinar. Victoria, thank you for providing this great information. We appreciate it, and we hope we can have either you or someone from SBA join us in the near future to provide some more great opportunities and information for these small businesses.
Absolutely, it would be my pleasure. Thank you so much again for everything that you do for small businesses and for the opportunity to be here today, Brian. It was my pleasure.
Thank you, Victoria. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.